But don't trust your contractors explicitly. They are humans too, and I think a lot of them get into trouble with like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So they'll start a new job just to get the deposit on it so that they have money to pay their guys to finish their last job. And I want to feel like they're not doing it on purpose, but you don't want to like allow them to exploit you like that.
Do you have mentors? How did you, and if you do, like Brandon Turner's probably is one of them. Was it all mentorships or masterminds? How this is something I get asked a lot is Jonah, can I be your mentee? And I'm usually like, no, I don't even know who you are, random Instagram DMer, right? I guess my question really is like, how do you find someone who's willing to teach you? And how did you find your mentors in real estate?
I think that mentors come in all shapes and sizes, and I think that when you ask someone like, "Hey, can you be my mentor?" it feels like heavy and a lot of baggage. And so if you're busy doing real estate, a lot of times you're like, no, I don't know. I don't know how to deal with that. But I think that when you can go to a someone that you look up to or someone that's a few steps ahead of you and be like, "Can I help you with something?" or just offer like what you can do for them. I used to go this is so funny. I used to go to a certain realtor's open houses. He had this challenge. He wanted to do like 100 open houses in a year. And so he was pretty much just bored sitting at these open houses. And so I would show up and kind of like keep him company, but I would be able to ask him all these different questions about real estate. And through that, he connected me with a different flipper in town. So then I went and met up with that flipper and I would help him like do demo, or I would offer to like pick up materials from Home Depot and like deliver it to his jobs or whatever might be helpful, just so that I could talk to him and ask him questions about stuff. And I didn't go to him and say like, can you be my mentor?" Because that kind of feels like you're just meeting someone and being like, "Can we get married?" Like it would be awkward. But you could go to someone and say, "Hey, can we grab coffee? Can I help you with something?" And then just be able to have someone to ask questions to.
Basically what Megan's saying here, guys, is ask us out on dates first. Don't just ask us to be married immediately. All right. It doesn't work if you just propose as soon as you meet them. So let's talk about the rest of your real estate journey. So you do that flip, you lose 20K, then you already are in a flip in Southern California. Go more into your story a little bit. Like, so you're doing that flip. What happens then?
What happens with the live-in flip or just in general?
Yeah, what keeps happening? Like you do the flip, what happens with the flip? How does your real estate journey keep progressing?
Yeah, so like I said, my husband got kicked out of the military, medically separated. So he got paid VA disability, so he would get like a small amount of money per month, but we couldn't live on that in California. So we decided to move to Lincoln and we sold everything we owned in California, including that live-in flip. We ended up making $80,000 on it. And then we moved into a travel trailer because we didn't know if real estate was going to really work at that point, but we wanted to be all in and like full time. So we moved into the travel trailer and lived in that trailer behind our projects in Nebraska for the first year. So in that first year, we bought 5 different houses or 5 different properties. One was a duplex and just kind of bought them however which way we could. One of them we flipped, the other ones we kept as rentals. We mostly were doing the BRRRR strategy on those. And one of them was the duplex that we did a VA loan on, but ended up not actually moving into it. So just kind of doing whatever we could. And at that point, it was mostly about cash flow for us. So a lot of them were student rentals and really big old houses, but we could get like $1,000 a month of cash flow on those. And so within like a few houses, we were able to be like, okay, this is working now. We can move into a house. We don't need to live in the trailer forever. But kind of prove to ourselves that real estate was going to work for us.
I love it. So you started doing student rentals specifically. Why did you do student rentals?
At that time, you could get more for a student rental than for a family rental. You could get about $400 per bedroom. So if you got a 5 bedroom house, you could get like $2,000. I'm not good at math. That's terrible. You get like
No, you're fine.
$2,000 for it. But if you rented out that same house to a family, maybe you would get like 1,500. And so it made a lot of sense when we were trying to get big cash flow in the beginning. And then after a couple years, we reevaluated our portfolio like 2020. I thought, man, maybe this is going to be the peak with all the COVID stuff going on. And so we ended up selling off a lot of those student rentals because they were just such a pain in the butt. Like you would have to turn them over every year to a new group of 5 students, and then they would have 5 co-signers on the lease. And it was just like a lot of
Right.
drama tenants, you know? So we kind of got rid of those and moved more into like truly long-term rentals that are more like families. And then we even do sober living houses now.
Gotcha. So how do you deal with drama tenants? I bet there's people watching who have some drama tenants, like how, like, and especially sober living. I mean, I have friends who do sober living. Those are also drama tenants. Why'd you decide to do sober living? And then also, yeah, like, how do you handle that?
I make Jeff deal with it. No.
Guys, that's
That's
how you do it. Just get your husband to deal with it.
yeah.
There you go.
And some of that is you could hire a property manager or have someone else and do that. It's really not the best use of my time for sure. But you have drama, you have to just deal with it as it comes. We have a sevenplex right now, which is the biggest property that we bought. Usually our properties are single families and duplexes. And we own a sevenplex right now that's just the most tenant drama, and weird things come up and you call your attorney and you're like, how do I deal with this? And the attorney serves the paperwork and you just keep plugging along. It's kind of just part of the business.
Love it. Awesome. So you got it. You start doing the buy and holds. You start growing a property. Sorry, was it a staging company you said? Right?
Yes. Yep.
What made you want to start so many different businesses? Was what you told me earlier about wanting like steady income from different sources, was it all planned out? Or was it just more you just went full visionary and just was like, you know what, let's just start this, let's start this, let's start this, let's start this. Like, how did it come to be where you started doing so many different things?
Yeah, probably was full visionary. Like I get bored easily and I'm like, this is broken. Really, the staging company came from me being like trying to hire a staging company for my flips and then not having any that I liked. And I just felt like, man, you guys are making this way more difficult than it needs to be. I could do this way better. I can make this simple. And then talking to different staging companies and realizing like they're not actually that profitable because of how they're doing it, so I'll just do it myself and I'll make it simple. And so I started at first just staging my houses and then started staging my houses in Jeff's listings. And then from there, started bringing on other clients as well. And we probably stage like 80 to 100 houses a year now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we talked about goals. We talked about a lot of the fears that you initially had. Do you feel like there are any fears that are still holding you back? Do you feel like there's still fears of like certain things that could make your business better? Like for instance, for mine, one of mine that I always have trouble with is spending money. Like my overhead in my wholesaling business is now like 30K a month, right? Which is a lot of money. We're making like 80 to 90. But if I want to spend money on a mastermind or stuff like that, it's still a lot of money. It can be pretty scary, right? That's one of the fears I struggle with. Are there any fears you feel like you still struggle with that might be holding you back in your business?
Yeah, I think that right now with kind of where what the market is doing, and I don't know because I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. So I think that I'm a little bit fearful of like ramping up right now or scaling up because I want to also be in a position where I could easily scale back if something weirder than what's happening starts happening right now. But I think that that might just be, healthy fear. You don't want to just be gung ho. And I probably am more gung ho than I should be. And so I think it is good to have like a little bit of healthy fear and just have your ear to the ground on like what is going on and not just be in growth mode all the time.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, that's especially true with flipping. I mean, flipping, the thing is, you guys are so sensitive to everything, and
Mhm.
wholesaling comes the downline from that. But wholesaling, you never lose money. You lose time, right? And money spent on marketing and stuff like that. but it makes sense, especially for flipping, because it's really hard to tell. What do you feel like? I know this is probably the hardest thing for people to answer right now, but what do you think is the forecast for 2024? You think we're going into a recession? You think we're going to be fine? You think we're going to stabilize? What do you feel? What's your gut reaction of where do you feel like we're going?
I don't know. I watched the stats, at least in my market, very closely. And for a long time, I was like, this is fine. This is fine. Nothing's changing because there was such a shortage of supply. We still had barely 1 month of inventory on our market. And now we have over 2 months of inventory on our market. And so to me, I'm going like, okay, this is very different than it's been for a long time, which still historically, that's still very low supply. And so you have to kind of battle that inner turmoil of like, is this actually a recession or a downturn? Or is this just returning back to normal? And so I think that I don't think we'll see a huge crash like 2008. Like, I don't think prices will go to half. And I definitely don't think that will happen in the Midwest, like Nebraska. Maybe it will on the coast. But even in 2008, Nebraska only saw a 20% decrease. And I think it will be less than that. But what we will be seeing, I think, more is higher days on market. We're already starting to see that. And so we just need to be more conservative on our ARV numbers and then also just build in more holding costs into our budget so that we're not caught on the back end of our flips.
Makes sense. That obviously makes sense to me. I mean, I think it's just good to be conservative with flipping in general. What are you seeing? Because I don't know the Midwest at all. I know California. In California, I mean, I think you're 100% right. I think my personal opinion is there's going to be recessions in certain places and then it's going to stay the same in others. Because 8% on $1 million is way different than 8% on $200,000, right? Like in Lincoln, Nebraska, what's like the average house price? I bet it's like
Two-
200K,
Yeah,
300K,
like 270, something like that.
270, right? People do the math. You can put it into a mortgage calculator, like 8% when you do a million, that's like a couple $1,000s. Well, 8%, I mean, 8% versus like 3%, which is where we were at like a year ago, versus like 8% to 3% on 250K, 270K, it's a couple $100, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,200 or something like that. So it's all about the affordability in the end, right? Let's say it does go into what you think it will go into, which is like a correction, right? Like you start seeing it starts happening again, like it did kind of the middle of last year, where there was definitely a correction initially for a couple months as interest rates rose. Definitely more fix and flippers got scared because they're like, okay, that means housing prices are going to start going down, and they did start going down. Sort of made, if I feel like it, depending on the market, it sort of made a rebound. Depending, let's say prices start going down again, what's your strategy? Like, what are you planning on doing if that happens?
I am right now kind of playing hot potato with some properties. So my goal is to get in and get out of them as quickly as possible. Whereas maybe, 2000, 2021, sorry, 2020, 2021, 2022 even was like HGTV them out, like make them the best house ever and really push that ARV up. Right now, I think it's better to just do what you need to do, put a little lipstick on it and get it sold as quickly as possible because it's not going to tank 10% in a month. It's going to tank 10% over, a year. So if it did, right? And so I think that if you can get in and get out of houses quicker, that would be the key. So we're doing a lot of like wholesale deals right now, more so than I want to like fully gut a house. And then I think we just need to be really conservative with our rental numbers because even when I'm talking to the banks, they're saying that they foresee rates coming down a little bit or at least tapering off. But when I talked to them a year ago, they would have not guessed it would be at 8%, and it is right now. So they obviously don't know what they're talking about. I'm trying
Yeah,
to not
I
trust
mean,
them.
I don't think banks 100% know what like nobody ever really knows, right? My prediction, and I'm curious if I'm going to be right. My prediction last year, right when interest rates were starting to go up, I'm like I said, I think it could get to 10%, right? We'll see if that happens. Inflation has slowed down a lot, but in a lot of other areas, it hasn't still to this day. And I don't know what is, I don't, I keep hearing that if interest rates go down at all, then housing prices will explode. And that means everything explodes. And then we still have inflation again, right? Which would
Mhm.
create the whole problem. They'd raise interest rates again. And then we're just playing hot potato with the entire economy, right? I would say this, and I think, Megan, you probably agree with me, but you can tell me your thoughts on this. I would say no matter what, guys, keep doing business. In the end, it doesn't matter what the economy does. It matters just that we're still doing what we need to be doing, helping sellers, getting them what they need so that then we're able to make money on these properties. That will never change no matter what is happening in the economy, right? So Megan, like how do you get your deals? Do you buy them from wholesalers? You said you wholesale yourself. Do you go directly to the seller sometimes? And yeah, just real quick answer that one.
Yeah, we do some direct marketing. So we do like pay per click, we do cold calling, text blasting. So kind of that marketing business that's more wholesaling. But we also do get deals from realtors that bring us deals because of our reputation and then wholesalers. So we're just kind of all over the place.
Which one is your best marketing channel? Which one's like the one that's bringing you in the most money?
Right now, pay per lead is doing really well for us. The conversion rate on it is so great because they're going to, the internet and saying, "How do I sell my house fast?" Like they have a real need. Whereas the text blasting or cold calling, it's a slow burn for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. What's your favorite pay per lead source? Do you have any affiliates we can drop real quick? I'll help you out.
Yeah, I do. I have an affiliate with a need to sell my house fast. So I would make money off of that link, but it is also the best lead source that I've been using this year. I've closed like the primarily the most of my paid marketing leads have been through them.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it a lot. So I'm mainly a wholesaler, right? Now I'm going to ask you some questions that are just personally going to help me. This is half the reason why I do this podcast is I get to network with people who are cooler than me. I'm a wholesaler, right? Let's say I want to go into fix and flipping. The thing that obviously scares me the most is managing contractors. That seems like the worst thing ever. I've done a few flips and they went well because I partnered with other people, but they already had existing contractor relationships.
Mhm.
Am I right? Is that the thing I should fear the most as a wholesaler trying to fix and flip? Or are there other things I should be concerned about? Let's start there. Let's start with that question.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest thing to get kind of wrong is the contractors. And some of that is just going to be like you have to learn along the way. I will say that like rock stars, no rock stars is so true. If you find a really great agent or you find a really great other flipper, they're going to have really great contractors and really great subs that they'll share with you. I think a lot of it is just like don't trust, this sounds terrible, but don't trust your contractors explicitly. They are humans too, and I think a lot of them get into trouble with like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So they'll start a new job just to get the deposit on it so that they have money to pay their guys to finish their last job. And I want to feel like they're not doing it on purpose, but you don't want to like allow them to exploit you like that. So definitely when you're paying out contractors, don't be paying out big chunks. I hear a lot of big new flippers will do like a 50% of the deposit up front, and that's just too much. Like maybe you could do a sixth of the whole bid up front as a deposit, but don't let your money get ahead of the work on the project.
Right. How do you find those contractors that aren't, I forgot the phrase, paying Peter to pay Paul, whatever you said.
Yeah.
Like, how do you find those ones who aren't doing that?
They're all doing that. You just
Oh,
have to make sure they're not
okay.
taking advantage of you while they're doing that. I mean, maybe not all of them are. The ones
So how do you
that don't,
check for that?
I would ask for recommendations and talk to their past clients and make sure that they are actually finishing jobs and that they're doing a good job and that when you go have a punch list at the end that they're actually coming back to finish up that punch list. That if you actually call the recommendations and talk to them, that would cut out half of the BS that you're going to run into contractors with. Another thing is some contractors won't require a deposit. Like I have exterior guys that will do $30,000 of exterior work and not require a dime until they get around to invoicing it 30 days later after it's done. And so, like they're not going to screw me over. I have nothing out, right? And so if you can find somebody that would do that, they obviously you're in a better situation for it. But I think a lot of times contractors get screwed over by flippers too, not getting paid. And in a market right now where some flippers or builders are maybe going under, the contractors are going to be more weary of that and probably will be getting deposits from most people.
Have you been hearing that? Have you been hearing about, have any of your friends been going under? Do you know any developers that are going under? Is that something you've heard? I'm curious because I do as a wholesaler, all that happens is they just stop responding to my texts, right? But
Yeah.
I am kind of curious if you've been hearing about that. Is that something that you've been seeing happening?
I think that happens all the time. And when the market shifts or the market goes down or interest rates go to whatever they're at, it's going to catch a lot of people in a bad spot. I know that a lot of multifamily investors will be stuck in bridge debt that they can't refi, and so I think that there'll be a lot of opportunities coming up for people to buy those at a discount because of the tough spots that investors are in. From a contractor standpoint, if you want to think about it that way, like me as a stager, I am a contractor. My service is staging, but people pay me as a 1099 contractor. And I am seeing that some of my flippers and some of my builders are having a hard time paying and paying quickly or on time. And I really have to like go after them for it. And I think that is because the market is slowing down, and so they don't have as much cash laying around.
Gotcha. Makes sense. So we're coming to the end of the interview, right? We got like 9 more minutes, and there's like a couple of questions I love ending these interviews with. So number one is, do you have any books that like you really recommend to people that would like that change your entrepreneurial journey?
I think the book on flipping houses is such a good, like, nuts and bolts book. It's by Jay Scott, and I think you can read it and just follow it exactly and then start flipping houses. Like, it's all the
Hmm.
information. Probably a lot of the costs that he talks about are like you could just times it by 3 at this point because it's, before COVID prices, but
Right.
the meat and potatoes are just great in that book.
Love it. Awesome. And then the last question that I love asking people is like, Megan, if you could go back to right when you were starting in real estate, like what like you could go back to your past self. You can go back to that Megan who I didn't even ask you, when did you start in real estate investing? How long ago was that first flip?
Like 2015, I think.
2015, so 7, 8 years ago now. If you could go back 8 years to that Megan who just started flipping, what would you tell her then, knowing everything that you know now?
I would probably say to rely on people more. I think when you're getting started, maybe, if you've only been an employee, you're used to just doing everything on your own. And I think that schools teach us that nowadays, like, don't cheat on the tests, don't ask for help. And so if I had reached out to anyone doing flipping and said, "Hey, I have this deal under contract, but will you look over the numbers? Will you tell me what I'm missing?" I kind of felt like maybe they would steal my deal from me. But if I had, they would have said, "Oh, you forgot to factor in commissions and closing costs, and your holding time is probably going to be longer than that because this is the first project you've ever done." And I could have taken that as wisdom and not have to learn the hard way, but I didn't because I didn't want to like share. And real estate is such a fun like team sport, and everybody that is in real estate wants to talk about it, wants to help the person that's a few steps behind. And so reach out when you need help.
So real quick follow-up question on that. How did you learn how'd you get over that? How'd you initially, so you initially weren't wanting to reach people out. It sounds like you had a fear of people stealing your deals. How did you overcome that and realize, wait a minute, this is actually exactly what everyone does. It's how anybody becomes successful at anything.
Yeah, I think I just, started talking to people at RIA meetings or whatever and kind of just more and more realize like nobody's out to steal your deal. It's such an abundance mindset. Once you kind of make that switch, it makes it easy to share.
Gotcha. Cool. I love it. Well, real quick, do you have anything you want to promote? Anything you want to plug? I mean, I wanted to share anything my audience can follow, reach out to you, obviously send you deals. Like, where would they? Let's start with just how would they reach out to you?
I am very active on Instagram, the Tatty Investor with underscores, the underscore Tatty underscore investor. So
How
that's
do you
a
spell
great spot
Patty?
to reach me. Tatty.
Let's just make sure I got it right. Like that?
That's perfect. Yep.
Cool. So reach out to you on Instagram there. What should my audience do for you? How can they bring you value? What do you need right now? If you had an audience of people who, they're real estate investors all over the country trying to do it, what can they bring you that would actually be valuable?
If they're wholesaling in Lincoln, Nebraska, I'm buying properties. So that for sure. Or even any of the small towns around Lincoln. And then I'm also starting a coaching program in January, but I'm starting to sell that now through my Instagram. But that is like a 6-month kind of getting you from doing nothing in real estate to real estate investor. So really just getting people started in real estate.
Cool. And they would just DM you for that?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Megan, got that. Do you have any last words before I shut off? You've been an amazing guest. I've been loving it. I love your story.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words?
Yeah, I think, with the fear thing, to get over the fear, a lot of times if you just go all the way down the rabbit hole of fear, it helps a ton, right? Like maybe say I'm scared that if I bought this house, then I would go bankrupt. Okay, well, what is the percentage, like probability that you actually would go bankrupt just from buying this one bad deal? Probably not that bad. And if that did happen, then what would you do? Well, I would have to get a job. Okay, well, then you'd be in the exact same position that you're in right now.
I love
And when
that.
you break it down and take that example and that fear way too far, then you realize it's probably not going to happen anyways. And if it did happen, would you be okay with that result? And the answer is probably yes. But if you take the opposite down the same rabbit hole and say, if I don't do it, if I never got started in real estate, am I okay with that? Am I okay with being on my deathbed and being like, man, I wish I would have gone full out. I wish I would have taken more risk. And instead, I just lived this like mediocre, simple life, which isn't a bad thing. Maybe that's what you want to do. But I think it's powerful to go all the way with those thoughts.
I love that. That's so true. I really like the idea of, okay, you go bankrupt, you're exactly where you would have been anyways. So does it really make that much of a difference? Maybe your credit would suck for 5 years. Is that worth chasing your dreams? And that's the worst possible case scenario. So I love that, Megan. You've been an amazing guest. Guys, next week, I'm going to be announcing this on my Instagram. Next week, I'm going to put myself back in as an acquisition manager. I've been announcing this over and over and over again. Go into my Instagram page and go to the link under my bio or in my bio. Click the first thing, the Act Manager Challenge, guys. You can sign up for the private Zoom there. You will see how I run my company, how I close deals. You'll see everything I do or everything my Act managers do and everything I do, because there'll be still some like sales manager stuff I do every single day for 8 hours straight. We start from 9:30 a.m. MST all the way till 6 p.m. MST. So guys, check that out. Megan, again, thank you so much for coming on here. We're
Thanks for
out. We're out. Let's freaking go.